Welcome back to Frozen Education. This is Ed. Today I'm going to be giving a DD on BNGO. I'm going to be first going through technical analysis, 1 day's intervals, and then 1 hour. And then I'm going to go through the websites that they have through investor relations and show you what the possible next catalyst could be. There's quite a few of their stocks, so just bear with me here. So first things first, I'm going to do 1 month analysis, 1 day for BNGO. And just off the bat, we see through the MACD that it seems that it had a reversal that is actually being confirmed right now from negative to positive, and you can see that the histogram has turned that way. The MA signal line and the MACD line are touching, which is a good sign here. Momentum, it seems that it's having a bit too high momentum of my liking. That could be a little bit of a dangerous level. William percent R shows it to be a little bit more towards the overbought part, so you need to look into the 1 hour interval for this. The average directional index shows that there is a strong movement. Wherever the movement was, it seems to have been positive, but it seems to be that it's quite strong. In terms of volume, you can see that the volume is still picking up. It did pick up a bit ago, but it still has a lot of interest. The unbalanced volume shows that the stock is currently going back up to its higher level somewhere around this region. Now, if you were to look at it just off the bat quickly, you can get to see that it could be some kind of a cup formation here. And whether with a cup you might have a handle, so a handle will be perhaps maybe a pullback, but that's also very depending on news. So taking a quick look, you get to see, by the way, the 10 SMA is above the 30 EMA, so that's as well a good sign, and the stock price is above the 50 SMA, which keeps it bullish, but under the 200 SMA, which basically cancels that out. 5 days, 1 hour period, you get to see that the stock price is under currently the VWAP, so that's a little bit of a bad side, but you can see that it has historically gapped up twice in the last 2 days. In terms of the MACD here, you get to see that it's quite negative. Whether that actually gets to pulled back onto the pre-market, that will be able to determine it, but just make sure it doesn't gap that far off much, as we can see that it has gapped up quite a bit and then received a pullback, gapped up and received a pullback. You don't want to be caught somewhere here. In terms of the average directional index, it seems to be still on the same message that it's giving us to the 1 day interval. The William percent R seems to be oversold during the day, but overbought during the pre-market. So that's a little bit of a dangerous thing to look at. You can get to see that it's multiple times it's showing that. In terms of volume, you get to see that a lot of interest happens early on in the day than later on in the day, and that's been actually some kind of pattern, except on the 7th of July. But that's been the pattern for the last 2 days. There could be people flipping it in the pre-market. 10 SMA and the 30 EMA are actually touching, or very close to touch, which is a good sign there. The stock price is above the 50 SMA and the 200 SMA of the 1 hour interval, so that's a good sign. Moving here toward, you get to see that the moving average, the stock is on the bottom side of the moving average, so that could be, the moving average here is in a sign and a purple. It's a good sign where you can actually see a bit of a pull up, but oh, sorry, here, that was actually just a pullback here. So you see that the stock has had a little bit off a similar pattern before, and it's right now above on the moving average, so that I'm actually see a pullback a little with a handle. Now, taking a quick look here, you get to see that the price is basically still above the 50 SMA and the 200 SMA on the 1 hour, 1 month interval. We're going to be looking into different supports and resistance. So we're going to do quickly Fibonacci retracements, and then we're going to move on to news. Quickly over here, we're going to consider the 4. Okay, so that seems to not have high accuracy, so I'm going to go quickly back to the 3 months period, and I'm going to be choosing the highest point off and the lowest point, and then see if that actually gets me any more details that I would like it to be in. So we're sitting at 0.30. Right, perfect. And then I'm going to go back to the 1 month, 1 hour period, determine it. Sometimes you need to actually calibrate that a little. That's 30 minutes, we'll do 1 hour. Perfect. So you get to see that it has somewhat of good accuracy here. So I would say the current support is sitting around 0.52. And you get to see it was currently a resistance before here. And is a support right here. So 0.52, it is currently sitting at a support. The next resistance would be somewhere around 0.55 to 0.57. You can get to see it had a resistance here, 0.57, and over here as well. So that could be your next major resistance. Your next support would be somewhere around 0.48, and the major support is 0.47. That's after the 0.52. Now, taking a quick look into the 1 month, 1 day, you get to see that the RSI is actually getting turned a little bit towards the overbought situation. So you might want to watch this a little bit closer. Now going in a little bit towards the company's profile, this is their website. So you get to see that they're actually doing multiple discovery research and clinical research. The discovery research that are open currently are related to cancer, genetic diseases, and genome assemblies, and clinical research is FSHD and cytogenomics. Now, they do have a webinar coming in. I'll show you here in a quick bit. It's actually this one here, identification of structural variation in chimpanzees using optical mapping and nanopore sequencing. So that's on the 16th of July. So you might want to consider selling before then. Usually what happens is that the stock price runs before the webinar and up to the webinar, but you usually don't want to hold through the webinar as the price goes on. But that depends on as well on how many people want to be ahead of that wave where it can actually literally die down a day before. Moving on towards different things here. They do have another conference happening on August 3rd to August 4th, where they're platinum sponsors. So that's one of the next catalysts going on. And this is the other conference that they're in for Cancer Genomics virtual annual meeting. Another thing that I dug into their financial annual reports. You get to see that their actual year-to-year, 2018 to 2019, it did see a little bit of higher revenue, but product revenue is a little bit lower. But there's a little bit of movements in terms of the company's kind of style. So I wouldn't mind very much into it, and it'll be really just watching the last 2-3 quarters and try to determine whether there's actually growth. So this is your company presentation. There's a bit of technical news in there, so I'm not going to, a lot of technical information, so I'm not going to go breaking through that. I'm only going to go through whatever, basically something that just showcases for me here, something as an alert. So you see that they're actually the only ones addressing SVs and digital cytogenetics. So that is a good sign there. And they've actually recently just, they estimate the market of Saphyr and digital cytogenetics and discovery research to be 2.6 to 3.8 billion market. What else is there? You get to see that recent achievements and milestones, and I'm going to increase my screen size here quickly. They have some in US and some in Europe. They have as well partnerships with, for instance, such as the Mayo Clinic, Columbia University, and they do have a bit of COVID-19 studies with different partners with Amazon, Microsoft, Freescale. So there's a little bit of good news here. Now going in a little bit towards hold on one second. They had a little bit of comparison in terms with their other competitors here, and they did show that they have a 90% sensitivity towards different perspectives. So I'm just going down quickly here. Nothing looks to be very much out. Okay, there you go. A raw 400 times new coverage Saphyr flow cell for a little less 450 per genome. We have 90% sensitivity to detect multiple things, transcalation, inversions, deletion, insertion, and duplications. Now that looks like good news for me, but I don't have the comparison for their other competitors. But it seems to be, for me, that it is actually good news in it. They do mention a bunch of different bigger names, so